Hi, hello
Hi.
everyone. Thanks for joining us. Let me quickly introduce myself if you don't know already who I am or we are. So, my name is Mina. I am one half of the Soul Gym, and I have here a very special guest and co-founder of the Soul Gym as well. And I'm sitting down with Miss Jamila Millette. And not just my co-founder, our co-founder of the Soul Gym, but someone who has been on an incredible journey with peace, not just, since 2025, but probably before the inception of the Soul Gym. And we just wanted to have a real, honest conversation about peace and what that journey has looked like, the struggles, and what's changed along the way, specifically for Jay. So, let's just start. Let's just get into it. You guys ready?
Okay.
All right. Hi, Jay. Do you want to say anything?
Hi.
All right. Okay, let me hit you with the hard question then. What does peace mean to you today, and how has that definition changed over the years for you? Transformed, whatever you want to interpret that as.
Okay. So what does peace mean to me today?
Yeah.
It means a lot. Today it means a lot.
Yeah.
So, um, what happened?
Tell us about it. Let's hear it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So for me, peace has many layers and facets to it. Like there's the definition of that of in the midst of suffering, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of noise, that you would still have a stillness within, and that is a sense of peace. But I do also believe in stillness and quiet and having a stillness that is also peace. So, so those are just like two various sides, but I do ascribe to both of those things. Um,
Okay.
and yeah. And the definition has changed for me because I used to only think of peace about like just being in stillness and quiet and serene. And that
Right.
was peace. But now I know that peace can be noisy. Like there can be a noisiness and there can still be a sense of peace within that. I I would say myself, she loud, but I have great peace.
Okay. So it's an inner peace you're taking in even when it's just busy and crazy out here in these 2025 streets. Year of the
That part.
nine, Yeah. Was there a moment for you when you realized that the way you were living wasn't sustainable? And what did that look
Mm,
like?
dang. Okay. Oh.
Sustain.
So there were many, many moments
Yeah.
where I had like so I'm a licensed mental health therapist and I'm also soul coach and many other things. And so in my therapy journey, like being a therapist, there are seasons of burnout and that is very normal. It's just like part of the jump, right? But then in some of my previous works, I used to work at a church and I was working there for 12 years. And whilst working there, had so many different opportunities to work with so many aspects of the community and people from really, really hard places, working with men and women who are incarcerated, working with women coming out of sex trafficking, working with young like kids who were in prison and things like that.
Mm.
And you know, and also helping people to not be homeless and like all kinds of things, and also therapizing people in the community who had none of the above, right? And so in my different lives, I had different burnout seasons, and there was a season right before 2020 where I had that moment where I was like, dang, like I feel like everybody's getting like a piece of a butt cheek. Everybody's content with the piece of butt cheek, but I'm drowning. And so I was
Yeah.
like, what am I doing? Right. And so I had a friend who was like, hey, can you stop doing something? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, there's no way. And it broke my heart to stop doing one thing. And it was specifically, I paused working with the kids in the prison. And literally, these are kids, like young boys tried as adults.
Mm.
And I was just like, wow, I'm gonna be another person who like doesn't show up for them, kind of a thing. But humility is also a part of this, right? Of letting go and stopping things. Because I had a team. I did have a team of people who were going in with me. So I was like, they can continue, right? It's not like, oh, if Jay leaves, like the whole thing is, no, it was like the community will continue. So I did, and it was like it gave me space to breathe, right? And so, what was the question?
Well, I want to go back and pause a little bit. So you're
Yeah.
saying everyone was getting a piece of a butt cheek, in your,
Yes.
which means
Yes.
like people were just settling for just the little that they can get. But
Yeah,
you,
they didn't know it was a little bit. It was for me, I'm giving everybody a piece. That the piece that they
oh,
received, they were like, "Oh, this is
right.
great," right? It
You were
was just for
stretching
me,
yourself thin.
yes.
Okay.
Everybody was getting a sample. You're getting a little razzle dazzle, but the sample, it was
Right.
a good sample. There's some good samples out there. I don't know if you ever been to Sephora, good samples, right? But
Costco.
no one's getting like full depth, no one's getting like full attention. You're just
Right.
getting pieces, and including myself. I can't give anybody full depth because
Right.
it's
Mm,
all just pieces, right?
yeah.
And so what was the original question?
Well, I think that's answering it, like where you realize, when did you realize then that wasn't sustainable? Like, you're giving all these
Yeah,
out, but the depth,
yeah,
what was your
I
pivotal
think,
change shift?
yeah, one of them.
I'm
One of
sure
them
there's,
was that moment. Yeah,
yeah.
there was multiple. So one of them was that moment, and that happened like right before 2020. Then another one hit in 2020 after everything, not everything, but so many things shut down. And I found myself still busy, and I was like, sense is not being made. I literally can't go to the prison. I literally can't go to the schools. I can't do some of the things I was doing. I can't go to the office. So how is it that my schedule is still completely packed and overpacked, right? And so then I checked myself and I was like, well, who's creating your schedule? And I was like,
Me.
it's, it's me.
I'm
I'm
problem, it's
creating my
me.
yeah, I'm the problem. It's me. And so I was like, oh, so but everything felt like have to. Like I have
Right.
to, I must, right?
You
Because
couldn't.
I was still helping community, right? Like I was helping the helpers, I was helping people, and I'm like, and again, everything, the
Was
the
there a
beauty and the
layer of guilt that you also felt with that under the service in some ways, if you were honest? If you
a
didn't do
layer
it,
of,
you have to,
oh
like
yeah,
there's other.
absolutely. It was like if not me, then who? Right? I will save them. It's
Yeah.
like who gonna save you, babes? Like
I mean,
so yeah,
girl.
so there was these moments that would hit me. And the beautiful thing too, I surround myself with a lot of care, like helpers as well. And so they would be like I was living with my one of my good friends who's a social worker, and she's like, "What's happening?" And I was like, "I don't know." And she was like, you're like it doesn't have to be like this." And I'm like, "What you mean? Like, do you know what I'm doing?" Like, and it's like I'm saving the planet. And so
Right.
it's like,
Just
girl,
one woman, you know?
yeah. And so it was a lot of like, again, with humility in there too, right? There's ego and there's opportunity for humility to recognize um, this is not sustainable. And it was also a lot of the work that I do was teaching peace. Like I'm
Yeah.
teaching people how to have peace within their lives. And then I was recognizing like, you don't do that right, you know? And I was like,
Like, do this, you must. And then it's like, well,
yeah,
go and continue to drive and do all these things.
I wasn't buying what I was selling.
Mm,
And
mm,
so that was one of those things where I was like, and on paper, I would say I'm very good at peace. I'm good at this, but this is
right.
not something to be good at. And then I was, yeah. So,
So
yeah,
2020 kind of really started those shifts and many layers or different levels of like, I mean, and the world was shut down. So a lot of people were realizing things like, I don't love living in this city, or I don't love this house. People are selling houses,
right,
moving,
yeah,
built businesses were booming, like being created.
right,
And
yeah,
I mean, fun fact,
yeah,
SoulGym was created in thought and concepted. We didn't get
mhm,
here. officially until what, 2022? But
I don't know.
yeah, but I mean, so all right, so now we've realized, okay, we got to slow down or we got to something's got to change. But you felt guilt for not doing things now that you were forced or in some ways slowing down. Did you ever feel guilt
Mhm.
there?
Did I feel guilty in slowing down?
Yeah, for slowing down. Like, how did that show up for you? And I mean, granted, right now we're in 2020 and everyone is pretty much having to stop and do certain professions, most of them, right? Um,
Right.
even in the midst of that, when did you even start slowing down? What did you start letting
Yes.
go of or releasing?
Beautiful questions. So, one of the things that came back to me was I did have a colleague from China who is a therapist as well, and she shared with us one time about the two words, the two symbols that make up busy in Chinese, and it was heart and dead. And that came back to me at that point too, of like heart dead. And I was like, my heart is not very much alive and thriving right now. Again, it looks good on paper, like a lot of stuff I do is so cool, right? But it was not cool for my heart. And so again, it was like, okay, so you're continuing this pattern, even though you have the opportunity to slow down and rightfully so, because everybody's slowing down, right? But it was like, for some reason, you're so special, like, and so I'm like, bruh, like, I am special, but this is not, we need to preserve the
Feel
special,
that
right?
part.
So, so yes, it was that, and I would say there was multiple pandemics during that season, but one of the first two pandemics for me was the physical pandemic, which was like, actual COVID, and then there's like within that pandemic the isolation, and then there was also a spiritual pandemic, right? Like
Mhm.
where there was like a spiritual awakening, and for me there was like a sad awakening of like like, because I was really like struggling with peace, and I was like, dang, like I'm talking a lot about peace, but I'm like, again, I'm working at a church, right? And so I'm like, the people who were so loud and so aggressive and so mean during during one of those seasons, but throughout, um, specifically about the mask and different things like that, was Christians, and I was like, what is this? Like, why are we loud and mean and wrong? And so,
Mhm.
but I was like, this has happened before, right? But it was like, and then I was just like thinking about how often I would hear like all of the meanest people in the workplace are the Christians, and like Christians are so mean, Christians are so mean. And I'm like, the Bible talks about like, if it is within you, be at peace with all men. And so it's like, clearly it's not within us, right? And so then I started thinking about like, okay, so this is like it feels like it's like conceptualized peace, like it's like a theory, like peace is something you can intellectualize but not embody. And then I was like, well, when have I embodied peace? And I was like, my biggest space for embodying peace has been in the practice of the asanas of yoga, like specifically the postures and things like that. And which is also taboo, like for Christians. But I was like, that's how I felt embodiment of connectedness to God and to peace. And so that is what I started to lean into more was like redeveloping a consistent physical and spiritual and mental and all the things practice of yoga. And so that was super powerful for me because I was like, oh my gosh, it's like the first time in a long time that I'm able to be consistent with the practice and I'm feeling this interconnectedness. And then I was also thinking about like who teaches peace like to Christians aside from like a pastor who I had multiple experiences with pastors who were also asking me like if I take a break or if I stop working for a period of time, like sabbatical or something like that, they were asking me, what do I do? And I was like, if you don't know, you in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, and so like I was like, wow, like it's challenging for them to stop, for them to pause, for them to practice peace. It's hard for us. So I'm like, people who teaching it, they don't know how to do it. And if the people who are receiving it, we don't know how to do it. So I was like, well, who knows how to do it? You know what I mean? And so that's when I was recognizing some
Right.
missing pieces, right?
Right. So we came from defining peace,
Gravity. Oh,
and
sorry.
an Asian friend who busyness, or no, busyness, which I'm still like
Hmm.
processing. Like busyness
Yeah.
means in their language, but it's interesting. And that conversation started, I guess you said in 2022, where you're just like, um, what now? But then even noticing like even the leadership or the higher ups, if you will, around you, these
Yeah.
big names, these big titles were even coming to you and asking, what do I do? Because we're also been trained to just be busy, like, and work and like, and I mean, even looking at what the origin of sabbatical is and why that came about, like, even if we're going back to like just the Christian faith of like God rest on the seventh day, like, just the other night I was having a conversation with someone and he was like, my days start on Monday because on the seventh day is Sunday and God rested. And for me sometimes I'm like, no, my Sundays it's Sunday to Saturday week, because I'm, for those who don't know, I'm a nurse, so I'm on military time, and that's just how it works in the hospital systems for scheduling. Um but the fact that we're all human. We're all in the same boat. We're all having some of that struggle of just when do I say this is enough? And sometimes we aren't attuned to our inner, to our soul, or even our inner gut, if you will, too, of just even or you can say your body, your gut, your soul, your spirit, of just, hey, we're not right. And then how does that manifest? Then your body starts telling you things. So, and we can go into that more later with me, like the health. We're going to switch the tables at some point. But
Mhm. This is part one. Hmm.
yeah, but you know, and you saying it showed up in your life in this way, but what was the hardest part? Like when did you start really seeing change? And it could be in a subtle way, but like what did you start implementing things? Was it just
Yeah.
having multiple
Yeah.
conversations with people and
Yeah.
just, you know?
Yeah. I implemented no with purpose, on
But
purpose. And so what I started doing was I'm a planner. I like to plan. And so what I saw was like looking at my days ahead, right? I would see that there was a plan for like all the time. And so it was like, oh, okay, if I start planning to not to like planning to just book myself to just
mm,
nothing, like not book myself so that I can do this thing, book myself, no, like book to do nothing.
yeah.
That was like a game changer for me. That was one of the game changers.
How
Also,
what was
again,
the first time, like when you did that, did you feel like I don't know what to do? I don't know how to shut it off?
no,
Did you
no,
do
I do
briefly?
know. I knew how to stop. I know how to pause. I just wasn't like the practice of that was isolated to just my day rest. It was just
Right.
like I know how to do a rest day. I'm really good at rest day, right? So because you do a rest day, then you're like, well, everything else can be exceptionally full. And it's like, no, you can have free space in there,
Wow.
right? Like give yourself like a bingo card and give yourself free space, right? But maybe because of life and how life be life and do more than one free space,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I had to learn was like
Dang.
you're allowed to have space to do nothing and to not book something and to not do a social thing and to not do a work thing and to not do anything. And you are
That's
allowed to be a being. Like I mean, I gave myself permission. I gave myself permission to nope.
some people
And that
view going out, having dinner plans as a break. And I
it
I
can
can
be.
view it in that way, but
Yeah.
even having
Yeah.
time for yourself and realizing
Yeah.
how
I'm a social butterfly. So that's why it was like, we're gonna talk about all kinds of stuff at some point. But for me, I had to learn that also solitude, also silence, also shushing with myself in the week is also enough. Like it gives me space to not have a dead heart. It gives me space to not lean into the busyness of our culture, right?
that
It
part.
gives me space to just like
Fill your
breathe
cup.
and have balance, right? That's what it was. It was a deep imbalance. It's like you rest and then you do a whole bunch of stuff. And so you're like, you know, and so it's like you can rest and you can
Mm,
do things and you can stop and you can do things and you can stop, right? And then you're doing it like that, and it's a little bit more of like dance and it's more balanced, and you just, and then I had more capacity, right, to just love myself and to love others well. Like I know me without rest, and I am not as kind, not as kind, I have less capacity.
It's like you said, we're draining ourselves. So when we make time for ourselves, we're filling our cup, we're filling our capacity to give more quality love and attention to the things that matter to us, right?
That part.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I asked this question, but what was the first thing you tried that actually made a difference?
You
Like,
did.
okay, so just
Um,
taking
So
time.
one of the things I said was like the yoga. Like literally I started doing yoga with Adrian 30 days and I was like, oh my gosh, the fact that I'm able to do this every day was like amazing. And then and like I said, booking myself, like literally scheduling. Cause people like for me, I was like run by my calendar. So like whatever's on my calendar is what I'm doing or not doing. And so I had to put myself on the not doing pieces so that every day wasn't something. Um, and so
You
that
have
was
conversations
significant.
with people where they're like, hey, and you're like, no, this is my time scheduling my time with self. Was that inspiring for anyone when you started talking? Did you start
Not
talking?
necessarily. I didn't even say all that. I just said I'm not available.
No,
That's it.
you have to
That's
say,
all. Very
yeah.
short
That was
conversation.
a good
Now, if
no.
somebody asks me more about like, what are you doing? I'm like, doing me, like,
Like, I'm always trying
um,
to hang out with you. You saying no, I'm offended.
yes. I mean, I'm sure that happens, but that's not, again, I hang out with a lot of like
Right.
healers and helpers, right? So people tend to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I'll catch you next time or whenever. So, um,
Did this,
yeah.
did that then lead into, okay, this isn't just an idea, it's something you can now, practice and embody.
I see. I see. So at
Mm.
some point, a lot of times on my day of rest, I allow my mind to just go wherever she wants to go, kind of a thing,
Okay.
or for the spirit to speak to me. And I believe that the Holy Spirit spoke to me one day and was just like the soul gym or something like that. I was like, what? A gym for your soul? I was like,
What
what
is
is
that?
that? And then some images came and I was like, what is this? Like, this is cool. And it was like some of it was tangible and some of it was intangible. And I was like, just the thought of it sounded powerful to me. And I was like, wow, like that sounds incredible. That's so cool, like from a distance. You know what I mean? Like never want to be an entrepreneur, never want to have my own business, just because I saw how stressful it was for people. And I was like, I
Not
don't,
attractive.
not attracted. But that particular dream and idea and vision was so vivid and beautiful and profound and felt so aligned. And so first thing your girl does, because she an extrovert, I need to introvert with my girl Mina. And so I was like, Mina, here's some random thoughts and dreams and ideas. And she was like, let's do it. I was like, what? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Mina's like, let's do a retreat right now. And I was like, girl, bye. You crazy. A year later, hosted.
Mind you, this was your stuff. And it's like faced with the reality of it's like, oh, it's too scary.
Yeah, you were just like, we can do this right now. And I was like, man, you're bad, nurse, crazy nurse. But yeah, so yeah, about a year later, that's when we held the first retreat, which was really beautiful and very intimate, um, and and wanted to give this space for people to uh, not just retreat and not just, do the same things you always do. It was like, we're going to learn some things and you're also going to get to have like this deep rest and also be in community and then take some of these elements with you beyond, which I believe some of them are still doing to this day, as well as one of the biggest desires, which I don't know that we fully executed in that first one, but was to not need a vacation from your vacation, like trying to embed in there so much rest or so much opportunity to do nothing. Um, that you can like fully like hear yourself, because sometimes we can't hear ourselves. It's so loud in our world. And to disconnect from phones, like people did that with intention. And I think it was a really beautiful experience for myself and for the participants. Um, but that was like one of the first iterations of it, and just also recognizing like, and this was before the word soul, like before SoulGym like fully, was any like it was not an LLC at that time. It was just let's just try some things. Um, but it was like recognizing too, like the SoulGym it isn't necessarily this place that you go to, not yet, and doesn't have to be, but there's something about it being like within. And so that was one of the founding thoughts and such, um, that's
Mhm.
still coming to fruition.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that retreat was in, I mean, it was 2021, but yeah, it's, that was a journey and it was beautiful and fantastic. And I say we need to go back there as some sort of memory. But anyways, okay, so now we're building a new life around peace. So what changes did you start making that helped feel more at peace, or that you can even share with people that could help them feel more at peace? Um,
Hmm. I'm not going to share everything because I want us to have a bunch of videos. But I
let's
I did
start
find my
with
own
one.
rhythms. I found my own rhythms, and I think that's one of the most important pieces pieces to peace is finding your own rhythms. There's so much, again, there's so much information. Um and and I remember trying different things. Like I used to try meditation and I was like, this ain't it. I'm not the one. I don't have the meditation bone. I ain't got it. Like I was like, my mind is too like.
Mm.
And I was like, she cannot, she can't do this. And because I had an idea and an ideal about meditation. And so I was like,
You had your own preconceived notions. Yeah.
I ain't get it.
What's a
Well,
rhythm?
that and that's what I heard. I'm like, this is what I heard. Like, you're supposed to be able to turn off your brain, turn off your mind, and turn it off. And it was like, that's actually not how that works. And so, uh, what was really helpful was you and I, like before becoming coachers, we were coached, and our coach instructed us to do 3 to 5 minute meditations twice a day. And I was like, I've never heard 3 to 5 minutes. I just heard just do it. And like, and so then I started doing that, and I was like, and I'm not a morning person. It changed my mornings. I went from a 3 to 5 minute meditation thing to now I have like this 2 hour practice. And it's like it's so life-giving. I still do not identify as a morning person, but I will get up earlier so that the first thing that I do is not doing
So that was
is
one of your rhythms, like in starting a morning routine, but like meditation specifically. Okay.
meditation started the whole game, and it changed the game. And to the point where I could tell you today, I can have peace wherever I go. Um, like sometimes people are like, "Oh, like, do you love this place? Do you love this place?" I'm like, I love me, and I love how I am in different spaces and places because of these practices. Like I get to like really, I'm like so much more connected to myself. I'm so much more connected to love, and I get to give love in a different way, and I get to gift peace in a different way just in my being because of the practice of doing this. And is not let's not get the game twisted. She is not perfect, and I have not perfected peace practices and things like that. I just can feel and know the significant difference, um, and depth that I have because of this practice.
Right. And I was, being hit by like one of the things for me that I'm taking away is like it's really so these practices or even these rhythms and like even saying peace, because peace is said a lot. Like everyone's like, oh, I've heard
Mhm,
about this. Everyone thinks they know how to do peace, but it's like
mhm.
all these things are bringing like it's bringing life back to yourself. It's not about um oh, I'm going to do this for others, whatever. Like you're doing this for you to then be that impact and change. And so it's like when that mindset shift or that realization kicks in where it's like, oh, this is for me. this is helping me to then just love myself first. So it's like starting you, at least how I'm taking it in. It's like you're building
Mm.
this life around peace for yourself and for you. And then that's where the change happens because we can't change other people. We can't control them, but we can change how we respond to them or operate in the world. And so that was really, I don't know, that was really impactful for me just now, just realizing like it's still
Mhm.
about us, but in a good way, like,
Mhm.
um, and what does, and now knowing like, well, now let's compare. So life now compared to before when you were, giving pieces of your butt cheeks to people, what would you say now? Or what does that look like or feel like?
What does it feel like?
Some way to
Mm.
define it, at least start to, like from you pre-2020 to now and the
I
compare.
just have I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of it. Like it helps to come from somewhere, right? Like um from not knowing or thinking that it's actually impossible to have like a long extended peace practicing time. Um it was like yeah, it there's a space of feeling like that's so like cool for y'all who do that, you know, and for it to be like, no, it's me now, right? Like that's a part of my makeup. It's part of it's my style of life. Like this is how I live. And I'm grateful because I know what it's like to not do this and what it feels like beforehand and what it feels like now. And then also being able to teach people how to do this and to see their results is like it's everything.
Right. Because you are also, like you said, you're a licensed mental health counselor, but now also the added coach to that and
Mhm.
yoga certified instructor. Um,
Mm.
yeah. Is
Yeah,
there,
and that came after too. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Is there something you wish more people understood about peace, quote unquote, or rest? No.
Something I wish people understood about peace. Mm. I think if you have and whatever, if you have the definition that I had, which is like, hey, everyone needs to be quiet and shush for me to have peace, um, then I think you'll miss it. You'll miss the beauty and the depth of life no matter what, and we can't control people and all those kind of things, and we can't control all the things that will happen to us in life. However, if you can like really learn not just again the intellectual part of peace, but really the embodiment, like infusing the soul, mind, body, which is really what yoga is about too. If you can get that, uh, then you get to change your life for the rest of your life.
Right. So just a redefinition, like what was like I could be like, okay, what did I think peace was? It's probably all woo-woo and like scented candles,
Mhm. Yeah.
sitting cross-legged, and you have to be in
Yeah.
this position to feel like you can,
Right.
be close to touch, rub up against peace, right?
Mm, mm.
And it's like, okay, that was my definition. So what is it really like? And it's like, it's just for me, sometimes it's just like having 30 minutes to just think about, do whatever I want to do. It could be scrolling a little bit, but it could also just be just thinking, having your own thoughts, being your own thoughts, right? Giving yourself time to just unapologetically be yourself, be with yourself, and see what you need, see what your body, your heart, your mind is telling you.
Yeah.
So that's good. So redefinition. Hmm. Okay.
Mhm. There is
Well,
a certain level of like if you truly have your piece,
mhm.
you can tap into the forgive my language, the unfuckwitableness of being.
Big word. You got to define this. The what?
No,
What?
no,
The
that will come
what?
in the future. No, we'll talk about that in the
Next
future.
segment, guys. Next video.
Next segment.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's wrap it up then. After
Mhm.
that, it was like supercalifragilistic. Don't know what a docious that is, but
Right. Period.
that in. Okay. So, what would you say for someone watching who could be
Mhm.
struggling, who is struggling with
Yeah.
burnout, feeling disconnected or just constantly overwhelmed? What would you say to them if you could right now?
What would I say to them? There is another side, and it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't even have to be that you do the constant cycles the way you've done the constant cycles. Um, there is such a normalized thing in our culture to do this, to be burnt out, to just exist, to crawl through life and just be like, oh, this is just what it is. Uh, but it really doesn't have to be like that. That's
Mm.
what I would say.
All right, you guys heard it. It doesn't have to be like this. You don't have to continue this way.
Don't have to.
Okay. Uh, what's one small doable way they can start choosing that then, or making some changes towards peace?
Super small,
Small,
but big, because little things matter.
tiny,
So
tiny.
I'm big on like, I love monks. I love the the being of who monks are.
Mhm.
And I was in all monks, but I study some monks. And so one of the monks that I follow, one of the things that he talked about doing first thing in the morning is nothing. Literally, like 3 minutes of nothing. Like
3 minutes.
3 minutes, you wake up and you, on purpose, with purpose, do nothing, which means you are just being a being, which
Hmm.
I don't know what that sounds like to you. When I first heard it, I was like, how do you?
It seems like a short amount of time.
It does seem like a short amount of time, but with the great intention, right? That's where the power comes in, right? It's like the depth of that. Like you can be like, I've meditated for 27 minutes, but how connected were you during that 27 minutes? 2 minutes, right? So it doesn't matter so much about the time, it matters about the depth. It's the quality of the of what you're doing. And so we tend to talk to a lot of like busy professionals and things like that. So people are like, I ain't got time to not have time, you know? So it's like so this is again like especially for the non-morning person, or if you are a morning person, sometimes morning people do stuff a lot. They just are like, I have so much energy, I could do everything, right? And non-morning people, we get up and we just get ready to go do stuff, right? So it's like instead of any of that, even if you're a parent, right? Like a lot of times, well, it depends on where you are in your parent season. Sometimes you wake up because you have to go take care of. But even then, like maybe you don't have 3 minutes, maybe you have 30 seconds to
Right.
just be, right? Um, but doing that, it's just taking something back for you before you go and give to everybody else. And so that's like it's like a little pressure release, like just a and we're or not even like nothing happened yet. Like and so sometimes we do very reactive things or like something happened. Now I have to do something peaceful, but it's like before you start doing, just be.
Right. Okay.
And and I'll go even more granular on that is like for some people if they were to just lay after waking up they go I'm gonna fall back asleep because that would be me. So sometimes for me I have to remove the pillow, I have to just add a little bit of discomfort just so I can like
Yeah.
be but not fall back asleep, or you might take the sheets off, or you might have to sit up, just sit up and just be. But whatever you have to do for you, you met you, right? And keep trying it, right? Because you might be like the first time I did it. I I was all over the place.
Effective.
Allow the mind to do whatever the mind does. It's just going to be like a part of it is the physical and the spiritual and your mental. Like you're infusing your whole being on this being moment, right? And just practice, right? The more you practice, the more it'll become a practice and an art and a beautiful thing that you gift to yourself. It's literally an oxygen mask moment too, right? We're just breathing and being, and we just
Put oxygen on yourself first.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm here. I'm just here. I am
Be.
not a performer. Yeah, I'm just gonna be here. And that's it. 3 minutes.
Okay,
Try it
so
out.
3 minutes, wake up, make it a little uncomfortable. You can even put a timer on your phone, but just try it.
Just
Just
try
one
it.
small thing. Just start doing that. If you get
Yes. On a
from
daily.
all this
Yes.
this whole video, just 3
Yes.
minutes. Give yourself.
That's our, and then
And it doesn't
also,
you can even do 1 minute if you're like, I can't do three
yeah,
minutes.
again, do what you can with what you have. I'm giving you the baby step of
Something to
three
start.
minutes because like it's a song. Like 3 minutes is a song. And if you do decide to do it and you did watch this video and you're like, please tell us how it went, right? Even good, bad, or indifferent. Like we want to hear all the things. You might be like,
Yeah.
I went back to sleep
Let us
like eight
know,
times.
guys.
I was in and out of
Like,
consciousness.
comment, subscribe. Okay. We're here for this, building this community. Okay, so 3 minutes, wake up, be ready. You don't know what your mind might give you inspiration for in 3 minutes. It felt like a short time for me. I mean, I don't do that yet, but I do other things, but 3 minutes, I'm just like, oh. But when you put it in that way, like it's a song, it's, maybe sit up, because my thing I do is oil pulling, and that's 10 minutes. And some people are like, nope, I don't want anything in my
Yeah,
mouth. But
you
anyway,
you asked me small, doable
right.
way to
So that's
start choosing.
amazing. Okay, 3 minutes, let's do it. All right, so final question. If the people wanted more of this kind of content, how can they connect with us?
So there's multiple ways. One is we will post. We will post things. We're gonna share more about these kind of things. And people can ask questions or talk more about like what they're interested in. We're gonna share whatever we want, but also what you share.
Yeah.
And I mean, look out for us on like the other social media platforms. Like
Yeah.
if you book faces, we do have a room for people who are interested in saying no with purpose on purpose more often.
We have an
Um,
Instagram.
we have IG.
We're on the
And if you're like, I want coaching, like I want someone to show me how to practice peace for me in particular, that's where you hire trainers, right? Like this old gym, right? If you went to a gym full of like peaceful things, you'd be like, that's great for everyone. And what do I do? What's best for me? How do I get my soul in shape? Whatever that
Get it strong.
so.
Awesome. So yeah, you can find us here on the Tube of Youbes or YouTubes.
The tube of Ubes. The tube.
And yeah, we'll link our other points of contacts, but also our website. Our website has pretty much everything you can learn about us, links to even retreats we might have going on, to some note planner journals, calendars for your life. But let's just start with 3 and let us know how that works for you guys. Thanks for joining us on this really cute interview style intro to this amazing series on peace. Thank you, Jay, for joining me. This was really fun. Any final comments?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, soul, mind, body. Take care of you, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.